Okay, Molly Sims, please, for the Pledge of the Flags. Could you come forward? Okay. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Under God. We got it down. We got it down. Okay, at this time, we'd like to call the mayor of Richmond.
And I hope, if I'm successful, that we put a little bit of fire in your belly, as much fire as that we had putting this statement together. My name is Cody Cockroft. I am a past master of Morton Lodge number 72 in Richmond, Texas, and Rosenberg Lodge number 881 in Rosenberg, Texas. I currently serve Morton Lodge as its secretary and an aspiring historian from time to time. On behalf of the 170 past masters and the current officers of Morton Lodge number 72, I am honored to present a short historical and present-day narrative of ancient, free, and accepted masonry. My goal is to do so from a macroscopic viewpoint in hopes that I can successfully communicate a local perspective and how the second president of the Republic of Texas influenced perpetual generations. Freemasonry has its humble origins in the design and construction of the grand cathedrals during the Middle Ages. These operative masons were free men and not serfs who were associated with lodges exempt from taxation. Working with freestone, a type of quarry stone, these operative masons passed down their designs and construction trade secrets from instructive tongues to attentive ears, as written form was easily confiscated. During the 17th century, lodges in Scotland began accepting non-operative masons into their lodges, thus giving rise to the name free and accepted masons. The first Grand Lodge in the world was created in England in 1717. The first Grand Lodge of North America was organized in Boston, Massachusetts in 1733. At this time in history, and for many years thereafter, colonial lodges of the United States were chartered by the Grand Lodges of Europe. Many of our country's founders and visionaries were Freemasons. Names such as George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, John Hancock, Paul Revere, and John Paul Jones. Freemasonry in Texas is as rich as the history of Texas itself. It begins with Moses Austin, a Connecticut man by birth, who was successful in obtaining approval from the Mexican government for 300 colonists to explore and initiate the colonization of Texas. Just prior to his death in June of 1821, he made his wishes known to his son, Stephen F. Austin, also a Freemason. In August of that same year, Stephen F. Austin, Don Seguin, and 14 others traveled to San Antonio for a meeting with representatives of the Republic of Mexico and Governor Martinez, seeking permission to explore and locate a district to locate a colony. With some resistance, Stephen F. Austin was granted approval, and each head of household was granted a league of 4,428 acres and a labor of 177 acres. All free men obtained 640 acres. In November of 1821, William Little and 4 others, in response to Austin's directive, traveled to Texas from New Orleans and up the Rio de los Brazos, known as the River of the Arms of God, and established the first installment of Austin's colony by building a garrison on the bend of the Brazos River for the purpose of defense from Indian attack and to store supplies. It was written by Little, presumably. From Tidewater to this spot, on each side of the river, nothing but low banks, dense forest, and cane brakes. But here the eyes and the hearts of the whole party were gladdened by finding the banks much higher than anywhere below, while on the west prairie came full up the river, spreading out as far as the eye could see to the westward, one vast, unbroken sea of rich, waving grass, interspersed with an endless variety of the most beautiful and fragrant flowers. According to Sowell in his history of Fort Bend County, William Morton was the first actual settler of the colony. A native of Mobile, Alabama, William Morton and his wife Nancy, their 2 daughters and a son, John, achieved safe passage from New Orleans to Galveston. In Galveston, their boat capsized and left them in distress. William Morton and his son John left Nancy and the 2 girls in Galveston and traveled up the Brazos River seeking aid. Father and son met up with William Little, who helped them return to Galveston to pick up Nancy and the 2 girls. They returned up the Brazos River, and William Morton settled 1 1/2 leagues on the east bank of the Brazos River and the labor on the west bank of the Brazos River on July 7, 1824. In 1825, Robert Gillespie, a native of Scotland, was met with foul play and mortally wounded. He found his way to Brother Morton's home, wherein he was carried for until his death. During this approximate 2-week stretch of time, the 2 discovered each was a master mason. Brother Morton buried Brother Gillespie on his labor in what is today the Morton Cemetery. To honor his fallen brother, William Morton, an operated brick mason, gathered clay from the clay grounds of the Brazos River approximately 6 miles from his labor and transported it by mule to his labor to form and fire bricks. Also by mule, he gathered seashells from the Colorado River or Brazos estuaries. And those seashells were not the prize. Rather, it was the calcium carbonate, the lime, and the silica to be used to make mortar cement. With additional planning, labor, and precision, William Morton constructed the Gillespie Monument, the oldest Masonic monument in Texas and west of the Mississippi River. The honor Brother Morton bestowed upon Brother Gillespie was not returned as he met his untimely death in an 1833 flood. In 1836, subsequent to the fall of the Alamo, Santa Anna and the Mexican army camped in what is today Richmond, while on their way to San Jacinto, not then knowing that they'd have their backsides handed to them in 18 minutes. Some of the men attempted to raise the Gillespie Monument to the ground. A Mexican officer, presumably a Mason, recognized the monument as a Masonic relic and halted the destruction. The Gillespie Monument remained in a dilapidated state until 1936, when members of Morton Lodge refurbished it to its modern-day appeal, in part as a celebration of our great state 100th anniversary. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look behind you, that is in fact the oldest Masonic monument west of the Mississippi River. The first attempt to establish Freemasonry in Texas occurred in 1828 when Stephen F. Austin and a group of Master Masons petitioned the Mexican National Grand Lodge for a lodge charter at San Felipe de Austin. Due to the political unrest at the time, it was denied or not acted upon. In 1835, 5 Master Masons met in Brazoria and sent a petition to charter a lodge in Texas to the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Louisiana, John H. Holland. The charter was delivered to Anson Jones, who carried it during the Battle of San Jacinto. Holland Lodge in Houston was the first lodge in Texas, followed by Milan Lodge in Nacogdoches and McFarland Lodge in St. Augustine. On December 20th, 1837, the 3 lodges met in convention and created the Grand Lodge of the Republic of Texas. President Sam Houston presided over the convention, and Anson Jones was elected as its first Grand Master. 29 lodges were formed under the Grand Lodge of the Republic of Texas. In 1844, George K. Tullion, Grand Secretary of the Grand Lodge of the Republic of Texas, addressing a gathering of Masons in Portland, Maine, observed, "Texas is emphatically a Masonic country. Our national emblem, the Lone Star, was chosen from among the emblems selected by Freemasons to illustrate the moral virtues. It is a 5-pointed star and alludes to the 5 points of fellowship." 22 of the signers of the Texas Declaration of Independence were Masons. Many more fought at the Battle of Alamo and San Jacinto. All of the presidents and vice presidents of the Republic of Texas were Masons, including Brother Lamar. Mirabeau Bonaparte Lamar was born on August 8, 1798 in Louisville, Georgia. He died in Richmond, Texas on December 19, 1859 at the age of 61 years, 4 months, and 2 days. He was made an entered apprentice Mason on June 22, 1830 in Columbian Lodge No. 7 in Columbus, Georgia. His home lodge, Columbian Lodge No. 7, was organized on October 9, 1828 and chartered by the Grand Lodge of Georgia in December 1828. The lodge was organized 2 months before the city of Columbus was incorporated in Muskogee County, then Indian Territory. Another notable Mason from Columbian Lodge number 7 was Colonel James W. Fannin, a martyr at Goliad and personal friend of Lamar. Brother Lamar moved to Galveston, Texas in the summer of 1835 as he sought peace and reflection after his brother's suicide. It was Brother Fannin who actually took Lamar in upon his arrival in Galveston. While in Galveston, Brother Lamar was warmly received by Harmony Lodge number 6 as he was passed to the degree of fellowcraft on July 9, 1840, and raised to the sublime degree of a Master Mason on July 21, 1840. Harmony Lodge number 6 was one of the 29 Masonic lodges of the Republic of Texas. Mirabeau Lamar was a warrior for the Republic of Texas and a visionary for states' rights and public education. A descendant of French Huguenots who fled Europe to escape persecution, Lamar developed a keen craving for individual freedoms and a passionate distrust of expanding federal powers. In his home state of Georgia, Lamar briefly attended private academies, but he soon became rebellious against the routine of formal schooling and pursued a lifelong quest of coursework and self-education. He became an insatiable reader, gifted public speaker, writer, artist, a student of ancient history and knowledgeable in the liberal arts and sciences. Soon after the fall of the Alamo, Lamar joined the Texas Army as a private and was later commissioned as a colonel on the battlefield, where he was assigned to cavalry to command during the Battle of San Jacinto. On December 19, 1838, Lamar was inaugurated as the second president of the Republic of Texas. He distinguished himself as the father of Texas education for his support of a public school system. In his first public address to Congress, Lamar declared, "If we desire to establish a Republican government upon a broad and permanent basis, it will become our duty to adopt a comprehensive and well-regulated system of mental and moral culture." He proposed a set-aside of public lands for the creation of a permanent endowment to support public education, whereupon Congress supported primary public school and 2 colleges, the University of Texas and the Texas A&M University. While these acts were important in the establishment of public education in Texas, the lasting impact was in the creation of a permanent endowment for the support of public education and the provisions for teacher certifications, both of which are alive and well today. Furthermore, Texas was the first state to give state aid to education. The School Lands Act of Texas continues to provide for the permanent endowment and support for common education in Texas and supplements the property tax dedicated to the Texas public school system. In 1988, under the leadership of Graham Childress of the Grand Lodge of Texas, the Lamar Award of Excellence was established. The Lamar Medal is awarded to students and educators in recognition of outstanding personal achievement in academics, citizenship, and community service. Every year, the Grand Lodge of Texas and its many Masonic lodges offers valuable scholarships for Texas's future leaders. In fact, every year, Texas Masons offer over $13 million in scholarships to more than 33,000 high school seniors. Morton Lodge number 72 is a staple of the city of Richmond and is one of the first established entities in town. We have served graciously since we were chartered by the Grand Lodge of Texas in 1851. This very cemetery, formerly known as the Richmond Masonic Cemetery, was owned and operated by Morton Lodge between 1997 and 1943. Today, we partner with the city of Richmond with public events such as Miracle on Morton Street, Motown on Morton, the Pecan Fest, and the Art Walk. The money we make selling sausage on a stick, nachos, and chili is for scholarships, and some is earmarked for local families in need. And on average, for the past 5 years, we have sponsored 5 families per year. For more than 20 years, we have provided scholarships to local high school seniors to continue their education in trade schools, colleges, and universities. In addition, we recognize a distinguished teacher. To date, we have worked with you, our community, and raised and provided more than $150,000 in scholarships and teacher honorariums as we continue to invest in our future generations. Today, there are more than 61,000 Masons in Texas and over 764 constituent lodges. In most cities and towns, you do not have to drive far to discern the square and compasses symbol. You may also know of the Shriners Hospital and the Scottish Rite Dyslexia Centers. What you may not know is that Freemasons around the country provide more than $3.5 million in charities on a daily basis. We do not do these only because we are a fraternity of great men, but rather we do it because it is the right thing to do. Brother Davis, would you escort Honorable Haas to the lectern?
Are you? We're gonna. Surprise.
Anybody have any bonding money? Honorable Haas, we know that your uncle was a past master, Morton Lodge number 7.
Do you know where to mix you up?
I have in my possession a treasure that Masons hold statewide. And this is our coin that we provide to all distinguished folks. And it has square and compasses on one side, and it has a replica of Gillespie Monument. And this is what I ask you to do. First, take it in your hand. I referred in my speech about Holland Lodge being number 1 in 1837. And our ask for Morton Lodge number 72 is that when you meet a Holland Mason, and he's proud of being number 1, you say, I know the boys in Richmond, Texas in Morton 72, and they had y'all by 12 years. And you wish them a good day. May God bless you all. May calendar year 22 provide each of you good health and fortune. God bless you all.
One of the little poles.
When I read it, I was like, I wonder if they're gonna have like the real one, or if they're just like,
Yeah.
like a bang.
That's the sons and daughter of the Confederacy.
All right. Make a quarter to your left. Hang at the top of that tree. Ready. Take aim. Fire.
But you can't get a fuse to stick, or you can't get
Oh, yeah.
so that your powder's not wet, or so that you're
Mhm.
sweating in your hands.